to that effect, like, can you mentioned rigging and stuff like that. Like, can you just give us an overview of some of these jobs? Because I do want to highlight, when people talk about filmmakers, especially, like, there's the writer, the producer, the director, but we don't focus on, like, beyond that. And probably same thing in animation, right? Like, we focus on the director of whatever the project is, but it's like, who's behind it. So I just, it could be the jobs you've had, but also maybe other jobs that you think are cool, but that don't get enough recognition as well.
So you see, if I'm very specifically talking about animation, it can be animation for animated movies or parts of VFX as well. It's a combination of multiple departments. It's not just one department. And since it's a collaborative process, the first one we would look into, if I'm talking about just the production part of it, not the pre-production. If I'm talking about production, which is more of my area, you start with the modeling, right? You model the asset, you model the character, and then you send it into two different departments. One is the look dev or the surfacing department, and one is the rigging department. They run parallelly. So I was part of the rigging department in my initial days. What is that? That is basically trying to make that model move in whichever way you need it to. And surfacing is more about painting and coloring the model to make it look like, the texture and stuff. From there, it moves on to the animation department, especially from rigging. Now, animation is the department which is the highlight, which is the main one. Why? Because they move the characters, they animate it. They're basically doing the acting inside the screen, which is directed directly by the director or the HOKA, which is the head of animation. So that's where the motion kind of takes place. Once the thing is animated, then it moves to the next department, which is CFX, character effects animation, which is what I'm doing currently. So what's a CFX? So CFX is basically any kind of character effects, meaning, let's say, hair, fur, cloth, skin simulation, any animation which you can think of on the character, which is not the main body, is character effect simulation. That can include anything. But still, it's a part of the motion, right? Hair, cloth, these are all motion, which is adding on to the mannequin. If you imagine the bear model to be a mannequin, any effects that you add on to it is a character effects. That's what I do at the moment. Now, once I'm done that, then it goes to lighting department, which is the last and the most important one. So lighting department kind of take the information from CFX, which has animation and CFX, and it takes the information from surfacing, which is the color stuff. They combine it together, and now you have an asset which is moving and the right texture. I'm talking about just the character pipeline at this point. So at that point, you have everything. Lighting department is one of the most crucial department because it takes information from everywhere, compiles it, composes in one frame, and that's what you see out there, right? And it also gets information from the location, which is the background. It takes information from effects, if there is any waterfall or destruction or anything. So it compiles everything, and that's what you have. There are other departments like IMF, which is image finaling, or then there is something called Digimat painters, which is like if you see the beautiful static backgrounds, which are basically painted mats. So those. So there are multiple 3D departments which contributes to make single frames out there. And then obviously, I always appreciate the rendering team. They are the one who works 24 hours to make sure every frame that is put in the farm is kind of rendered right. And then you have the image out there. Once all of this is done, then you kind of have the editing team, right? Another very crucial part of, I guess, every movie making, including animation, where you edit the whole thing, put the right color, put the sound, no more scratch voices, the main audio, link it together, and that's how you have the final product. So it's quite a process.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I forgot to mention there is also the crowds team. Like it's probably submerge of animation, but crowds team only focus on the crowd animation when you have a large amount of flock of animals, flock of birds, or, group of villagers everywhere, those kind of things. So, those are also very crucial. There's also can be a very different team, but that's, taken part of in some studios, there is a vegetation department, like a foliage team. They are, responsible for huge forests or such as that. But in bigger studios or in many places, it can be a combination of CFX and FX. Like when the character is interacting with the environment, it's something that CFX does. But if there is just environment like storm or something like that, which not really very character friendly or character oriented, that is taken care by FX. So it's a lot of combinations. It's a lot of, as you can see, it's a lot of dependencies on each other. But that's what actually makes a movie, in short. So it's a lot.